Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to a new IELTS Express tutorial. This time, as promised, we're going to have a revision and we're going to revise all the skills and skills we've practiced in lessons 1 to 9. And we're also going to go over a selection of words, phrases, and expressions from lessons 1 to 9. So if you haven't done this already, go check my YouTube channel, hit subscribe, complete all the lessons 1 to 9, and then come back and do the revision. This is the order I recommend. As I said, today we're going to have everything. We're going to practice on reading, on listening, speaking, and writing. Yes, you're going to practice speaking. You're going to record yourself answering a few questions, and the last activity, you're going to have an essay. I have prepared 10 pretty activities which are packed with vocabulary, with listening, with reading, and you're going to practice all your skills. Okay, so if you're ready, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, grab your notebook, and let's get started. Just before we start, I'd like to let you know that I won't be helping you. I won't give you any hints because this is going to test the knowledge that you have acquired so far from lessons 1 to 9. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start with a little bit of vocabulary activity. You've got 5 sentences and a table with 2 boxes. I would like you to rewrite each sentence 1 to 5 using a word in box A for the expressions in bold and a word in box B for the expressions in italics. And you may also have to make other changes to the sentence. You've got 2 minutes for this one. Good luck. Okay, time's up. Here are the answers. I just want to tell you just a little observation here is that the words in the table are a little bit above the average, as you can see. You can compare the sentences before and then the answer. Conventional, yeah, flexible, idealistic, tolerant, so on and so forth. All right, this was like a little bit of a warm up. We're moving on to the next activity, which is a listening activity. So you won't have any additional time to complete the questions. You're going to listen to a doctor talking to 5 patients. You have to indicate each patient's health problem by choosing a letter A to E from the box below. Make sure you also check the pronunciation for all these words. Again, I'm not going to give you any help. I want you to do a little bit of extra research. All right, you're going to listen to the recording once only. There are 5 patients, there are 5 health problems, so there are no extra health problems to trick you. All right, here we go.
Patient 1.
It's definitely a bacterium and not a virus that's caused your inflammation, so I'm going to prescribe a course of antibiotics.
Patient 2.
I suggest that over the next 6 months you follow a reduced calorie diet and exercise for 30 minutes 3 times a week. Come and see me in 4 weeks' time and we'll see how you're getting on.
Patient 3.
You appear to have developed a sensitivity to pollen. You may need to stay indoors at certain times of the year and take antihistamines to improve your condition.
Patient 4.
I think your headaches may be due to the fact that you haven't been taking in enough fluids. You really need to drink at least a litre of water a day.
Patient 5.
I'm afraid you're going to continue to experience some weakness in your left-hand side. I've referred you to the physiotherapist and prescribed medication to prevent a further occurrence.
Okay. And here are the answers. This was easy. It wasn't that complicated, was it, right? Okay, moving on to the next activity, which is a little bit of a reading and matching activity. You've got some academic disciplines marked from A to F. There are 2 extra letters though that you won't be using, and then 4 paragraphs. Read them carefully. I've given you less time for this one, 2 minutes. Okay, so you have around, if my math is correct, 30 seconds per paragraph to match the paragraph with the correct academic discipline. Again, if you're unsure about how you should pronounce the academic disciplines, you should search them in a monolingual dictionary. All right, here we go. All right, time's up, and here are the answers. I will also like you to bear in mind the spelling of certain words, especially the first one, archaeology, and economics, which is always in plural, so to say, it has a final S. All right, moving on, we have a paraphrase exercise, which is very good. You're going to need to know the skills of paraphrasing in all 4 modules of the IELTS exam, especially in speaking and in writing. Paraphrasing, saying the same thing but using different words. So basically, if you know how to paraphrase, it means that you've got quite a wide range of vocabulary, especially synonyms. Here, you've got 5 sentences and you need to choose the correct sentence, A or B, which is the closest paraphrase. I'd like you to read them very carefully and choose the right alternative. Good luck. 2 minutes for this one. Okay, time's up. I wanted to tell you, but I just cannot help you, that in this kind of exercise, even though it's a revision, you could have used the monolingual dictionary to search up words which you didn't know. And this way, you also improve your vocabulary, you learn new words, you also check your pronunciation for certain words. Okay, so here are the answers. Check them, and if they're wrong, check to see what went wrong and why you chose the other sentence. Exercise 5, we are already halfway. Here we have a little activity, 5 definitions, and you have to choose the object A, B, or C that best fits the description. It's really easy. It's also a very good way for you to do this in speaking. For example, if you don't know like a nail file or like a paper clip, you can describe the object. Yes, it's going to take a little bit longer, but at least you don't sit quiet there and you say something and you produce some language so the examiner can actually evaluate your knowledge. So the worst thing you can do, and the worst thing you should, yes, you can do during the exam, is to be quiet, to sit like a rock and say nothing. Okay, so say something, even though if it's not 100% accurate, just say something. Don't just simply, I don't know, be like a deer in the headlights, shrug your shoulders and say, I don't know. All right, 5 sentences, 5 definitions actually. Choose the best object, A, B, or C. 2 minutes for this one. Okay, time's up. And here are the answers. This was easy. It wasn't that complicated. All right, moving on, we've got another listening activity. This time we've got adjectives, which describe the place, a certain place. You've got 5 speakers. They're going to describe a place, and you have to choose the adjective that best describes the place. Okay, again, check the pronunciation in a monolingual dictionary. You can also check the meaning if you don't know what they mean. And remember that you don't have additional time to transfer your answer. So you have to do this while you listen. This is very good practice for your IELTS exam. All right, here we go. Good luck.
Speaker 1.
It took us forever to get out of the city. We must have driven for an hour and a half. Nothing but shopping malls and bungalows as far as the eye could see.
Speaker 2.
I don't mind the grime, the crime, or the noise, and the skyscrapers are just amazing. It's a vertical city. You really need to see it to believe it.
Speaker 3.
We stayed in a lovely little cottage, surrounded by meadows. It was gorgeous, so peaceful.
Speaker 4. The high street is thronged during the festival. Street performers, clowns, acrobats, all kinds of people peddling all kinds of crazy things. You'd love it. Speaker 5.
I'd read so much about it when I was at school. I couldn't believe I was actually there, an ancient town, almost perfectly preserved. You weren't allowed to take photographs, but I did anyway, when no one was looking, of course.
Okay, as you've probably noticed, none of the speakers mentioned any of the words. So again, paraphrasing. There were some synonyms over there, some expressions that would give you a hint. And the answers are... Okay, moving on, yet another listening activity. This time you're going to listen to the extracts from 1 to 5, and you have to indicate whether the statements are true or false. So you might want to take to pause the video here and you to take, I don't know, 20 to 30 seconds to read the sentences so you know exactly what you have to listen. But don't spend too much time, okay? Maximum 30 seconds. And then play the video again and listen to the recording, and that's it. And you give the answers as you listen. No extra time. Okay? Here we go.
Speaker 1.
I was never cut out to be an engineer. I just can't do the maths. So yes, on the whole, I think changing over to product design was the right decision for me.
Speaker 2. Whenever we got together to revise, she'd end up moaning about her landlord. She was a good student, but looking back, I don't think the arrangement really worked. Speaker 3.
I can understand why universities may want to increase tuition fees, but if they increase them threefold, only the rich will be able to afford it.
Speaker 4.
I see the pass rates have gone up again this year. That would never have happened in my day, even though we were much better informed than kids nowadays.
Speaker 5. Basically, it allows me to pursue my interest in music and keep my job in the recording studio. It's not so intense either. I've got time to think about what I'm learning, absorb it at my own pace.
Okay, this was easy as well, wasn't it, right? And here are the answers. Right. 3 more activities to go, and this one my dears, it's a speaking activity. What I would like you to do is to record yourself speaking for 1 minute, answering each question. So 1 minute per each question. So what I would like you to do is to take your phone, because I'm sure it has like a built-in voice recorder, read a question, and then give an answer to this question. You can also have a timer. You can also ask somebody else to time you. You can also, I don't know, record in the mirror while you do it, so you can also analyze your body language while you do it. But what I strongly recommend you not to do is to write down your answers and then recite them as a poem. It won't help you, not even at the beginner level, because you need to practice the way you should practice for IELTS from day one. These questions, I'm going to give you an extra tip. I know I said I wouldn't, but I'm sorry, I just can help it. These questions might be found in the very last part of your IELTS speaking test, part 4. You're going to figure out they're not as easy as in part 1, when the examiner asks you whether you like cooking or what hobbies you might have, or whether you like to shop online, so on and so forth. So it takes a little bit of critical thinking. You need to pass everything through your filter and then bring up arguments and support your ideas with examples, right? So no more talking. I'm not going to give you time right now. You can do this as homework, and let me know what you think about these questions, whether they're too difficult or too easy, or maybe they're ambiguous, or you don't know exactly what they mean, in the comment section. All right, and we're moving on. We've got 2 more activities. This one is a reading passage. It's quite pretty. I liked it. And what you have to do is to find words and expressions which are similar in meaning to expressions 1 to 6. Again, synonyms. As you can see, reading is not about reading, is about comprehension, is about finding synonyms, paraphrasing, so on and so forth. I'm going to give you 2 minutes for this activity, and good luck. Okay, time's up, and here are the words and expressions. Okay, make sure you also check their meaning if you don't know what they mean in a monolingual dictionary. And we have reached the very last activity. Here we have a combo, a listening and writing activity. First, you're going to listen again to the lecture on global warming, the exam practice section in lesson 9. And then you've got some lecture notes below. And using these lecture notes, you'll have to write a response, an essay. Should the international community do more to tackle the threat of global warming. So this is going to be very good practice. You're going to practice both your listening and your writing skills. Okay, first listen to the lecture to refresh your memory, and then after the recording is ended, I'm going to give you some more tips. All right?
In today's talk, I'm going to give you an overview of the most recent thinking on climate change. Recently, the IGPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, has conducted a major review of the evidence for climate change. In its conclusions, it states that the evidence for global warming continues to be overwhelming. However, according to the panel, some of the risk factors identified in earlier reports have been overstated, whereas other impacts of global warming may have been understated. In this talk, I'm going to outline some of the overstated risk factors and explain the current position on each. I'll then mention briefly some of the aspects of global warming that are now considered to be a more serious problem than previously thought. One of the most significant revisions in the new report concerns estimates of rising sea levels. Previous studies had predicted that sea levels would rise by more than 2 meters. The latest evidence suggests that sea levels are likely to rise by no more than 1 meter. This is good news for many coastal areas, as flood defences currently in place are much more likely to cope with a rise of 1 meter. A rise of 2 meters would have required major investment in flood defences. The reason climate scientists have come up with such different predictions of sea level rises has to do with our understanding of what is happening to the major glaciers and ice sheets around the world. Some appear to be contracting faster than predicted, and others appear to be expanding. In 2007, for example, the IGPCC predicted that the Arctic would be ice-free in summer by 2080. The latest predictions bring this date forward by 20 years to 2060. In the Antarctic, on the other hand, the ice sheet appears to be expanding as seawater freezes over. This variability in ice sheet activity accounts for the differences in our predictions of rising sea levels. Another significant revision of our understanding of climate change concerns the Gulf Stream. As many of you probably know, the Gulf Stream is a current of warm seawater that travels from the tropics northeastwards across the Atlantic. It is responsible for keeping temperatures in Europe and North America 5 to 10 degrees warmer than they would be otherwise. An earlier study concluded that the flow rate of the Gulf Stream had decreased by 30% since the 1950s. It warned that the Northern Hemisphere could be heading for another ice age. In other words, a period of prolonged cold. However, a more recent study has indicated that currents of warm water have actually accelerated in the last 20 years. Climate scientists now believe that these differences are due to natural variability, and that the Gulf Stream is unlikely to disappear. This is good news for those who live in Europe and North America. I'd like to move on now and mention some of the consequences of global warming and some of the risk factors which may have been underestimated by previous studies. As far as consequences go, there is new evidence that tropical forests are more susceptible to drought than previously thought, and that the severity of severe weather events, such as hurricanes and typhoons, may have been underestimated in the past. This is particularly bad news for those who live in southern regions. More worrying, there is stronger evidence that thawing permafrost in northern regions is producing very high emissions of methane gas. As I explained in an earlier lecture, methane is a much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. This thawing ground has the potential to significantly exacerbate climate change. I therefore have to conclude this talk by saying that, in spite of the good news on rising sea levels, global warming continues to be a serious cause for concern. To ignore it would be most irresponsible.
Okay, and this was the lecture. Now, based on what you have listened to and the notes that you have, I'd like you to write an essay, a 250-word essay, answering the question in the box. Should the international community do more to tackle the threat of global warming? Now, if you have watched my other videos in which I show you how you should tackle either a task 1 or a task 2 summary or essay, the one with analysis, where I analyze a sample answer, you see exactly what I recommend as a routine when you should be, the plan that I recommend, how much time you should spend on planning the actual essay, what you should be doing, how you should start. Okay, so I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't watched those lessons yet. Watch those and then you can answer this question. All right, so you have now managed to revise 9 lessons, vocabulary, listening, reading, speaking, and writing in well under 30 minutes, which is brilliant because this is going to give you a little of a boost. You give yourself a tap on the shoulder, and if you have learned something new, if you have found this revision useful, don't forget to give me a thumbs up or give me a comment, write any suggestions that might help you, anything that might also help me and help this channel grow. Until next time, thank you very much for watching.